Jan Merkel's Izzet control deck is so favored here?
Maria, it has to be the removal suite that's just so good at shoring up the early game. We see 4 copies of Cinderclasm to go along with those Burning Hands, Stomp, Spikefield Hazard, Frostbite. All of that makes sure that the early aggression from this Gruul Adventures deck is essentially non-existent and buys you time. And as we saw in that last match, if Jan has time and he gets to land a Cure Best the Sea God, well, it's really, really difficult for these creature decks to come back against that. The natural curve that this team has created by becoming a Yorion deck, letting you go turn 7, Cure Best the Sea God, turn 8, put Yorion in your hand and immediately play it, is just close to unbeatable for a creature deck. And the only issue is getting there. 3 damage was the name of the game against Mono Green. 2 damage is plenty against this Gruul Adventures deck.
Yeah, let's take a look at that Gruul Adventures deck in the hands of Gavin Thompson coming up here for this next round. And yeah, I mean, if you look at those stats, just doesn't line up really great. So tell me, what does the Gruul Adventures deck want to do in an ideal world here?
They're going to really want to stick an Asika's Chariot or a Goldspan Dragon as soon as possible. Asika's Chariot is a little bit awkward because it does get pretty hurt by a Prismari command, but it's sort of, 1, you want to land a bigger creature, and 2, you want to make sure if your opponent is trying to play a 1-for-1 game, you're playing things that they have to use more than 1 resource to deal with. Even if a Cinderclasm cleans up the cat tokens from the Asika's Chariot, they're still going to have to deal with the Chariot itself. And a card like Ranger Class, that's going to be absolutely huge in this matchup. It's the type of card that once it resolves on the board, it's really hard for Jan to deal with. That's why we see Jan running cards like a Null in his deck. So Gavin's really going to be hoping to draw those Ranger Classes if he wants to have a chance of winning here.
Ranger Class has really impressed me this weekend. What an incredible card for any green-based deck. All right, let's head on down to the feature match area. Jan Merkel versus Gavin Thompson. The winner of this match goes to the championship match. The winner of that goes to the World Championship. Let's head it down to Riley and Corey.
Thanks very much, Maria. Coverage of the upper final is about to get underway. Welcome to the feature match area here. Riley Knight, Corey Baumeister, and we have a pretty high-stakes game of Magic for people to enjoy here, Corey. Jan Merkel playing up against Gavin Thompson, and they are playing for a spot in the qualifier, the qualifying match here. And the winner, as Maria has just explained, the winner of this match will go to the qualifying match, and the winner of that match will go to the World Championship. So a lot on the line for these players. They've worked very hard to get to the point they're at, but the work is not yet over, Corey.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot on the line. And Gavin has actually played against this Izzet control deck 3 times so far. Has not picked up a win yet against this. So I'm sure this is not exactly what Gavin wants to play against. And Jan Merkel, being the flip side of that, has got to be feeling pretty good about his chances to at least advance to that qualifier match.
It's got a nice hand, too, with a null for something like an Asika's Chariot. You can see one in Thompson's hand. Omen of the Sea and Prismari Command will make sure that the hand of Merkel continues to develop along lines that he's going to be happy with. The card selection offered by both of these cards is pretty key. And, of course, Prismari Command will take down a small creature, such as a Jasper Sentinel, maybe something like a Magda, as it's cast here. But a slower start for Thompson with double Jasper Sentinel. Not the sort of aggression that he'd be hoping to put on the battlefield early on. Interesting to see that he doesn't want to cast that low. Or maybe he's going to cast it through the Jasper Sentinel, the Heart's Desire. No? Okay, just going to pass.
A big contemplation there for Gavin, because if you do cast the Heart's Desire there, get that extra token in, there is one card that you're pretty vulnerable against, and that's Cinderclasm.
Yeah, it just blows you out, huh?
Yeah, putting yourself a little bit more vulnerable, but maybe it's a situation you just say, yeah, Cinderclasm, me there, at least I get a Lovestruck Beast next turn, and I get to follow it up by Asika's Chariot, but I think I like avoiding that risk as well and getting your 1 point of damage.
All right, so not going to cast anything else. Here is an Omen of the Sea. Let's see what Merkel's working with here. Scorching Dragonfire and Essence Scatter, both terrific options here. Both of these cards are great. And seeing as I think he's already got a couple, he's already got 3 lands in hand. He's not hurting for mana, so I wouldn't be surprised to see, yep, both of these kept on top. That makes good sense to me. And at this point, Merkel just playing for time, hitting his land drops, making sure the battlefield stays under control, and eventually will be able to take over the game with massive big haymakers such as Cure Best the Seagull. We've seen this card do a lot of work, not only this weekend, but just already in our top 8, Corey.
Yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. And I loved Maria's pun as well. Kiora Best the Liga. That was good. Monty's, hating on her for that, but that was just a home run there, as well as the card itself in a lot of these aggressive matchups.
Is a null now taking care of this Asika's Chariot, and also it looks like we're going to see Scorching Dragonfire as well in one of these Jasper Sentinels. So Merkel doing exactly what he needs to here and keeping the board clear. As we get the turn back to him now, he's drawn an expressive iteration, which is just fantastic. I was going to say he's going to obviously just keep a bunch of mana open between his Prismari commands and his Essence Scatter here. Triple land, probably not what you want to see, but he's not going to be too unhappy with it.
Yeah, not the worst. And as far as Jan Moritz Merkel's hand at the beginning, it was perfect. It kind of had everything on lock. Now there's a big opening with just, if Gavin Thompson plays something like that Azika's Chariot this turn with only Essence Scatter, that's going to be a really big problem if Gavin Thompson goes for it. It's huge if he does.
Well, I mean, we know the coast is clear. Thompson doesn't have the same level of information that we do. He got burnt by an annul next turn. Let's see if he's once bitten, twice shy. He may take a different tack here. Lovestruck Beast can be cast. Does he have double green? He does. So he can cast both halves of Lovestruck Beast here.
The one really
with
nice...
the Jasper Sentinel anyway. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. The one really nice piece of it. Oh, going for it anyways. Nice play by Gavin.
Nicely and rewarded for it as well. Checked if the coast was clear with that Heart's Desire, and after recognizing that, he probably was going to be okay. The Asika's Chariot comes down. Go ahead, sorry, mate.
Yeah, no, and now at least we got the Prismari command to be able to deal with it. But what I was going to say is with killing the Jaspera Sentinel a couple turns ago, you opened the door to have Dwari Disruption to actually counter this Azika's Chariot. And I was like, that is the one reason maybe Gavin doesn't go for it. Just a little scared to get got by the Dwari.
Lovestruck Beast here under consideration. So 3 mana floating.
Yeah, just deciding if he wants to play this land first, maybe playing around a main deck Dispute, trying to get 3 mana available just in case. Does a check of the deck list, I assume, to see if that's in the main deck.
And it's going to go for the Lovestruck Beast here. It's going to hit by an Essence Scatter, so nothing that Gavin could really do about that. And here's the Shadow Skull going to bolt himself to play this Shadow Skull Smashing. Also, Shadow Skull pass here as a land. And now what? Can wake up the Asika's Chariot. Going to cast Rimrock Knight as well here. Good way to crew the Chariot. But I think we're just going to see Prismari Command take it out before it can attack, right?
Yeah, or it will be able to be attacked, or it will be able to attack, and then whatever it targets, you kill that. It's kind of going to accomplish the same. If
Ends
you
up
do
being
that,
the same, right?
Exactly. Like you can kill it now, deal 2 to a cat. And actually that's probably a little bit better just in case Gavin were to go attack and try to copy the 1/1 token. Then it's kind of a, I wouldn't say nightmare scenario, but all of a sudden you're using Prismari Command to kill a 1/1 instead of kill a 2/2. Yeah. So it is just a little bit better to do it now if we even want to deal 2.
Yeah. Not even going to shock here. It looks like we're going to create a treasure token instead. Oh no, draw 2, discard 2, sorry.
Draw 2, yeah. With Jan Merkel's hand being so bad, you need to find something, not necessarily like an annul. As good as that card has been all weekend, it's not exactly what you want at this stage of the game.
No, looking for a Kiribes the Seagull at this point, particularly considering he has the lands to cast it. Let's see if he can find something a little better as he continues. But a bunch of lands here. Going to take 5 down to 14. And now over to the German. Let's see what he can find for the turn.
Worst case scenario, Jan does have the ability to just play Yorion, then the turn after, or buy Yorion, and then the turn after, put Yorion into play, blink Omen, and then you get to at least find some removal, some way to interact. But with the Den on Gavin's side, I don't even know if that's going to be enough.
Considering here sacrificing the Omen of the Sea in order to
find a
scry, and yeah, that's what he's going to do here. Finds Hall and another expressive iteration. I've already seen him cast 1 this game. I don't know about this. neither of these really advance his position against a pretty troublesome board state at this point. Even through the removal that Merkel's had, it's kind of fallen off a little bit, and he hasn't been able to maintain control over the board. It has, and that's the power of a Seeker's Chariot. Puts a bunch of power into play, an effective 8 power, really, depending on how you look at it, for just 4 mana.
And it's just
use that expressive iteration. Oh my goodness, more lands.
And it's just too tempting to keep expressive iteration since you just need to find meaningful cards. But, you really do need to find something like Cinderclasm. Cinderclasm just sweeps the entire board right now, too. So that is one of the sweepers that, is the truest sense of the word, sweeping the entire battlefield. And Yana just looks at the 6th land in a row and is like, are you kidding me?
So Den of the Bugbear wakes up. That attacks for 4, including the token.
The lair was huge.
And down to just 1, Jasper Sentinel, the only card remaining in hand. Burning Hands is not going to do it. Jan Merkel, I don't know what he can do here other than just pack him up and go to game 2. But Gavin Thompson, it was touch and go there at the beginning. Jan Merkel had a great hand that was filled with interactive pieces. He found cards like Essence Scatter. He had removal spells to take care of these creatures. But at the end of the day, just kind of ran out of gas, right? Like the jet fuel did not continue to get pumped. And I think he came across 7 lands, not quite in a row, but between the looting, between the expressive iteration, just wasn't able to find any business.
Yeah, and it comes down to that. Like Gavin even said, Jan Merkel is just the best player in the top 8, which is some high praise with how much of a star-studded top 8 we have. But at the end of the day, even the best players have to draw off the top of the deck, and sometimes your deck can do that, where you just see a bunch of lands off the top and really kind of cut the legs off from under you, and you really have no option as far as any plays to be able to make.
Temple puts a second copy of Kira Best Sea God below decks. This saga's done a whole lot of heavy lifting for these blue-based slower decks throughout the weekend, and is, I'm not going to say it's a centerpiece of this Izzet control deck, but it is, I guess, its primary win condition, despite being, very slow, very clunky. It just kind of shuts down so many of these aggro decks.
Yeah, shuts down the aggro decks, and Monty was talking about it in the pre-show as well, and I think one of the biggest reasons to make this a Yorion deck is that 1-2 punch of Kiora on 7, and then on 8, just treat Yorion as an 8-drop, and all of a sudden you get 2 Krakens, you get to ice things down, tap stuff down for 2 turns in a row. It just gets completely disgusting.
Expressive iteration here. The turn 3 play, I imagine we'll see that pathway put into play from the Exile Zone. Omen of the Sea going to head back to the library, and Mind Flayer put in the hand. Mind Flayer, a surprising utility piece in a couple of different decks this weekend, and I've been really impressed with it so far. Hopefully its career is only just beginning in Standard. It's part of the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. A Stomp goes upstairs here and sends the Bone Crusher Giant to the Adventure Zone.
The Adventure Zone, indeed. And one thing we're going to see from Jan Merkel this game is no shortage of big things to do. And it's just going to be, is his interaction leading up to this turn 5 Mind Flare, to this turn 7 Kurabes the Sea God, going to be good enough to shut stuff down? Lovestruck Beast is kind of the one play that Jan Moritz Merkel does not have a great answer for as of right now, and let alone just any green creature, right? Red Cap Melee is ready to deal with that Bone Crusher Giant. Gavin correctly said, I'm not going to play that into a Red Cap Melee. I'm just going to jam this 5/5 that's really tough to deal with right now.
Looks like we're going to discard to hand size here. Merkel putting Yorion in hand and then having to discard as well. Not exactly where he wanted to be, I'm sure. But he's going to be able to take the pressure off a little bit next turn with this Mind Flayer. Edgewater Innkeeper into Bone Crusher Giant. A nice sequence here for Thompson, continuing to flow, make sure the cards flow off the top of the library.
Yeah, that is one thing we got to keep in mind here. 3 turns down the road, that was land 7. That could be a real cost. Or we're not going to notice it at all because all we need is 1 land, but it is a cost as of right now if Jan doesn't draw another land.
Red Cap Malay is going to ding Merkel here for 2 as it takes out the Bone Crusher Giant. But here's the Mind Flayer, steal that Lovestruck Beast. And now the pressure is at least removed a little bit, unless Shatterskull Smashing for 3 returns that beast to its rightful owner. But the attack only for 2 this time around, which is going to, again, take that pressure down a little bit.
Yeah, and at 6, I mean, look at this. This expressive iteration basically has to find a burning hand. You can play Yorion, but then you're just dead to an Ember Cleave.
Syndiclasm would also be really good here, taking out those 1/1s.
Prismari Command and Bone Crusher Giant? I don't think that does. Okay, so wait. Here we go.
All right.
We can put Bone Crusher Giant into hand, Prismari Command into exile. We can shoot one of the 1-power creatures, make a treasure, and then stomp the other one as far as a way to shut down Lovestruck Beast. So I think this is a line that would keep them alive.
Is there enough mana for that? So there's 3 mana for the... You've still got the land for the turn as well. So that does work. And with Field of Ruin in hand, that'll actually do it. Okay. So that shuts down...
pretty.
No, it's not. It's not where you want to be, but this is how you have to get it done, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what we're seeing here.
Prismari Command will be shock and strike at Rich.
But now if we top deck a 1-power creature, even a Lair of the Hydra will do as well, because 1 Lovestruck Beast connecting, plus that stomp would be lethal, so big draw step for Gavin.
So let's see if this stomp is going to be cast main phase. I'm not sure if there's a reason not to do it main phase.
There's a Snakeskin Veil in the deck.
There is Snakeskin Veil, so you just do it now. Okay. So, a Clothis off the top. Well, that's a clock of a different nature.
That's a clock this for sure.
Oh my goodness! And with a null in hand,
feels bad.
Oh, that feels so bad, dude. That feels so bad.
And here's the thing. Remember that land 7 that we were talking about a little bit ago?
Yeah.
If we can draw it and you can get Curabest the Sea God, get a Kraken, then tap stuff down and then take Clothis with Chapter 3, that's some way to get back into it. But that stomp actually shuts off that line and no land 7 that we had to discard.
Land. And this is after having discarded a land, that Yorion rotting away in hand, not doing anything really to keep this game under Merkel's control. So it ended up really, really not going his way. Is he about to concede here? It looks like he is, and Jan Merkel goes down to Gavin Thompson, and Gavin Thompson, look at him get up and about. Wow. He is absolutely thrilled with this result, as you would be. He is just one qualifying match away.